Let's learn more quadrilaterals this time. You have learned square, rectangle, and ding, yes, rhombus. You're right, yeah, rhombus, right? Yes. Besides that, there are more quadrilaterals that you need to know. Let's check it out.
What if we try changing both the sides and the angles? Here's what we end up with, and we call it a parallelogram. It's called a parallelogram because even though its sides are not all equal and its angles are not all equal, it's still made from two pairs of parallel sides. Get it? Parallelogram. Now wait a second. If that's the definition of a parallelogram, a quadrilateral that's made from two pairs of parallel sides, then wouldn't all these other shapes be parallelograms too? Exactly. All of these shapes are parallelograms, just like they're all quadrilaterals. It's just that we have special names for them if their angles are all equal, a rectangle, or if their sides are all equal, a rhombus, or if both their sides and their angles are all equal, a square. Okay then, if all the quadrilaterals we've seen so far are examples of parallelograms, what's an example that's not a parallelogram? Well, to see one, let's start over with our square again. But this time, we're going to change it by moving just one of its vertices, like so. Now, one of the pairs of sides is still parallel, but the other is not. And a quadrilateral that has only one pair of parallel sides is called a trapezoid. Well, actually, this is where classifying quadrilaterals gets a little messy. And that's because this sort of shape is called a trapezoid in America, but it's called a trapezium in other countries, like the UK. At least they both start with the word trap, so it's not too confusing. Yet. Okay, so this quadrilateral is a trapezoid, or trapezium, because it has only one pair of parallel sides, and the other sides are not parallel. Here are a couple more examples of quadrilaterals that have only one set of parallel sides. Alright then, what about quadrilaterals that have no parallel sides at all, like this one? These opposite sides are not parallel, and these opposite sides aren't parallel either. So what do we call this kind of polygon? We're going to call a quadrilateral that has no parallel sides a trapezium. We don't think it needs a special name, so we're just going to call it a quadrilateral. So to summarize, any polygon that has exactly four sides is called a quadrilateral. And if it has no parallel sides, we still just call it a quadrilateral. But if it has one and only one pair of parallel sides, we call it a trapezoid or a trapezium. Or if it has two pairs of parallel sides, we call it a parallelogram. And you've already seen that there's several types of parallelograms called rectangles, rhombuses, and squares.
A kite has four sides, therefore it is a quadrilateral. One of the first things you may notice is that there are two pairs of different length sides. A fancy word to describe this is that a kite has two disjoint pairs of consecutive sides. Disjoint pairs means that one side can't be used in both pairs. The sides of each pair are congruent. Sides A and B are congruent, and sides C and D are congruent.
There is one more really important thing you need to know about quadrilaterals. You need to know that the sum of the angles of a quadrilateral is always 360 degrees. Now that's pretty obvious for a square or a rectangle. Those shapes have four right angles, and since we know that a right angle is 90 degrees, 4 times 90 gives us 360.